Welcome back to Red and Blue. Former President Donald Trump is in Iowa. He is giving a speech on education in Davenport, and it comes just days after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis visited the same city. A new poll has his favorability numbers among Iowans, with Trump at 80% favorability rating and 74% favorability rating for DeSantis. And for more, let's bring in Selzer. She is the president of the Des Moines-based polling firm Selzer and Company. Great to see you. Thank you for being here. So walk us through this new poll. What stands out to you?
Well, it's really a poll that delivers some tea leaves more than anything that's very definite. We wanted to get an early take on what was happening with some of the current and potential Republican candidates. So we pulled out just Republicans to take a look at favorability. Former President Donald Trump is still performing very well in a state that he won twice and convincingly, so that's not a surprise. What was a surprise is that Ron DeSantis actually had a pretty good favorability number for not being a relative newcomer. He was in the state over the weekend, but his number of favorability is 74% compared to President Trump's 80%. And you might think, well, that's maybe more of a convincing difference for the former president, but there were 20% of the people who couldn't rate their feelings about Ron DeSantis, which means he had a higher proportion of people able to rate him who liked him. So that's one of the key findings. The other kind of jaw-dropper finding is we repeated a question from 2 years ago that asked how likely it would be that you would vote for former President Trump if he were the Republican nominee. And 2 years ago, 69% said they would definitely vote. Now, this is just Iowa Republicans. This time it was 47%. So quite a drop in terms of that rock solid support we had seen in the past for President Trump.
So I'm curious kind of what this may tell us about Iowa and its impact on the Republican Party field and the role it kind of plays in shaping that field. I mean, how much does Iowa matter for Trump? You mentioned, of course, that he won the state twice in the general election, but he wasn't able to win those caucuses in 2016, went on to win the nomination. Does he have to win Iowa to move forward? How critical is it for him this time around?
Well, apparently, winning Iowa is important, and it's always important to do the thing that candidates want to do most, which is win something. And if Iowa is the first place to win, that can, in fact, catapult into a greater showing down the road. But it's not the be-all, end-all, and depending on how many candidates get in to the field, then it can be tricky and a little treacherous for some of those candidates to get established here, get known here, get the local political operations active, get staff working, and make all that happen.
It's interesting, those numbers that you pointed out for DeSantis, at least suggesting there is an interest in him. What does Iowa provide for a candidate like that who is essentially a newcomer when it comes to presidential politics?
You know, my observation has been that the Iowa experience makes candidates better. And that's because they are expected to, and often do, meet people repeatedly on more than one occasion. The people will come out to the events, and they want to sit down, they want to talk about things, and they want to ask questions that are on their mind, and then they want to take the measure of the candidate. So it's if the candidate uses Iowa well, then they can adjust how it is that they're coming across and up their game, just polish themselves up.
Yeah, it really helps to shape those candidates as they move forward. Just quickly, too, I mean, Democrats are not going to be prioritizing Iowa this time around. I'm wondering if that would have any effect on the Republican field.
Well, that could go either way. I think what we don't expect is for there to be a Democratic caucus happening in Iowa at all. That's as we sit here today. So I would think it would have minimum effect. But there are, I don't know how big the segment is, but there are sort of people who are fans of caucuses. They just love the event in and of itself. And so it could be that there's some independents who might have chosen to caucus on the Democratic side in the past. You can change your party registration on caucus night and show up and participate.
It is a very fun and eventful type of way to get to assess the candidates. Ann Selzer, we will be talking to you a lot and watching your polls very closely. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.